My name is Natalie Fernando. My son is Rudy. I've been writing for the last couple of years on my blog called Better to be Different. Rudy's diagnosed with autism. He has a global development delay and sensory processing disorder. In particularly unfamiliar places, Rudy can become a bit overwhelmed. One of the key things he does is slump to the floor when he doesn't want to walk, so walking can be challenging. He will bolt sometimes, so he'll run off. At home, it's more throwing, scratching, kicking. It's really important though that it's only when he's having a meltdown. So when something's overwhelming him or something's not quite going his way, he will tend to start to lash out. He loses himself. It's not really him. He's got a very kind nature. And then afterwards, exhaustion, tiredness, and he'll just want cuddles and kisses. Tuts, stairs, we've been told children like yours shouldn't be allowed out. We've been told, control your child, what's wrong with you? We were told once in a massive public park to shut him up because he was screaming with joy, he was happy. So we've had a lot of negative reactions, and it was really tough to the point where for several months we actually stopped going out. It was more for me. I was writing about my feelings around Rudy's diagnosis, early days. I felt like, was I the only one that felt like this? So I started writing things down, and a few friends and family read it and said you should share it. So I set up a blog detailing the highs and lows, and so it's very honest. And really it was quite cathartic. It was a way for me to just express all my emotions, and then once I'd written them down on paper, I feel stronger again to go and tackle the day and whatever the day's got in store for me. So Ian, my hero, and it's funny actually, before I tell you about Ian and I have actually become friends, and he's coming to Rudy's birthday party this weekend. So we've established a friendship as a result of a complete chance encounter. I was walking down the seafront in Southend, and my son loves walking along the seafront with the boats, but he struggles to turn direction and walk in the opposite way. So when we got to the point where we turned around, he was walking but struggling, and then he slumped to the floor. It was the end of a 2-week Easter holiday. I was quite tired, and I just stood back because with Rudy, I never know whether I'm going to get a cuddle or a kick. So I kind of just stood back to assess the situation. A few people had tutted at Rudy's noise, and then all of a sudden this runner came past. A few other runners had run past, and then this one came past and he looked at me and said, is your boy having a tantrum? And I said, yeah, he is, because I thought I'm not going to tell some stranger, although I have in the past, but all about Rudy's, different conditions. And then he started saying to Rudy, what's your name? And trying to chat. And Rudy, up until a few months ago, was largely non-verbal. His understanding is still very limited. So at that point, he was trying so hard that I did say to him, actually, my son's autistic. He's not really going to understand what you're asking. And with that, Ian just slumped to the floor, laid on the floor opposite Rudy, and he started stroking the floor, saying, oh yeah, this floor feels nice, because that's what Rudy was doing. And then Rudy looked up at Ian and put his hand out to hold his hand, and Ian stood up, took his hand, and Ian and I chatted for a bit about Rudy, and then Ian said, let me walk you back to your car. And he walked us about a mile. It was about a 20-minute walk with Rudy back to the car, and I posted a blog like I would, and the rest is history. It went crazy. The post, I wrote the blog, the post in minutes. I just sat there writing it very quickly and put some photos on. And then a couple of hours later, I re-looked and I was like, oh, okay, that's got quite a reach. At the time, I had about 1,000 followers. So for the number of followers I had, it was getting quite a reach. Then I checked again, it was getting 250,000. Then I checked again a couple of hours later, it was at 500,000. And then within 3 or 4 days, it had reached 7.5 million people. We were invited onto BBC, Look East. We actually had phone calls from This Morning and different morning channels. We were in every single newspaper online that I've ever read. We were on French news TV, Australian news TV. It just went absolutely crazy, all because somebody showed some kindness, which comforts me that there are people out there that show kindness, but in equal measures sometimes alarms me that this is having such a major impact. This should be standard. So the biggest lesson for me would be not to judge. And before I had my son, maybe I was a bit more judgmental. I've always liked to think of myself as not somebody that judged, but I can't believe I wasn't. We all do at times. But since having my son, it's something that has become really close to my heart, and I genuinely do not try to judge any situation whatsoever. I will always be the person to question what might actually be going on behind the scenes. Seeing my son judged so many times for his behaviour and being just categorised as a naughty child, regardless of what's going on, it's not anybody's business as to how he's behaving, or nobody knows what our story is. So to show kindness, to be compassionate, but just don't judge. Just don't judge, just be kind. So we're sitting in Ronnie's in Hockley. Well, largely my house is a building site at the moment, so I can't go there, but I moved to Hockley recently with Rudy to be closer to my family, and I'm really fortunate that my sister, literally at the end of the road that I live on, because I live very near the high street, has this little bar called Ronnie's, which is open during the day and the evenings. But for us, it's been a godsend, because taking Rudy out is really challenging. Taking Rudy to restaurants is a whole nother game. People expect a certain type of behaviour from children in a restaurant, and I can't guarantee I'm going to get that with Rudy. And when I come here, it's completely inclusive. My sister will be the first person to stand up and say, that's my nephew, if Rudy starts to be a bit loud. I've never run into a problem here. Everybody is just really kind. And when I say, oh, I'm sorry about my son being loud, they're all like, oh, we don't care, it's fine. So I'm really excited to have this place for me. What I'm also really excited about is that I've suggested to the owner, my sister, about doing Sen coffee mornings here. For me, when Rudy was first diagnosed, taking him out was really difficult, but also meeting other people in the same situation was equally just as difficult. And the only places we had available to us were charitable organisations, which have been fantastic. But sometimes you just want to have a cup of tea and allow your child to just be, if you can bring them with you. Or if you can't bring them with you, know that you're coming somewhere to meet other people that are travelling the same road as you.